Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our future deep dives. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of biomolecules, nutrition, and malnutrition.
Yeah, these are such important topics, especially for anyone preparing for the UPSC exams or even just those of you who want to know a bit more about what's going on inside your body.
Exactly right. So we'll be exploring the essentials, uh, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, fats. We'll even be talking about cholesterol, the good and the bad. And of course, we'll be covering the global issue of malnutrition.
You know, it's not just about getting enough to eat, it's about getting the right things, and that's what makes this so important.
Absolutely. And that's why we're so lucky to have you here to help us unpack all of this. So let's dive in. First up, carbohydrates. We hear all this stuff about good carbs, bad carbs, but what are they really?
Well, simply put, carbs are our body's primary source of energy. They're the fuel that keeps our cells running. There are the simple sugars, like glucose, that's what our brains love, and fructose, the one we find in fruits. And then we have the more complex carbs, like starch, which is how plants store energy.
So when I'm reaching for that candy bar in the afternoon, is my body just craving a quick dose of glucose?
Pretty much, but here's where it gets a little more complicated. See,
Mm.
the speed at which those different carbs break down into glucose affects our blood sugar levels. And that's where we run into the concept of the glycemic index, which is especially important for people dealing with diabetes.
Ah, diabetes. Now that's something I know I should understand better. Can you break that down for us?
Of course. Diabetes mellitus is basically a group of metabolic disorders where the body either isn't producing enough insulin or can't use the insulin it does make effectively. Insulin's like a key. It unlocks our cells and lets glucose in. But with diabetes, that system gets messed up. And of course, there are different types of diabetes. So type 1, that's usually diagnosed in childhood, is when the body attacks the cells that actually produce insulin, so they need insulin injections to make up for it. Type 2, which is way more common, is often linked to things like diet and exercise. In this case, the body becomes resistant to insulin, so the key just isn't working as well.
So type 1 is an immune system thing, and type 2 is more about lifestyle. But both affect how the body uses energy.
Got it. What about gestational diabetes? I know some women develop that during pregnancy.
Exactly. Gestational diabetes usually shows up in the later stages of pregnancy. And while it usually goes away after the baby's born, it can increase a woman's risk of developing type 2 diabetes later. So managing those blood sugar levels is super important during pregnancy. Fascinating. So much to consider. Okay, moving on from the sugar rush, let's talk about proteins. I know they're important for building muscles, but what other roles do they play?
Think of proteins like the building blocks, the workers, and the messengers in our bodies. They're made of these things called amino acids, and the way they're structured determines what they do. Take collagen, for example. It's a fibrous protein, long and strong, and gives structure to our skin, tendons, and even our bones. And then you've got globular proteins like enzymes. They speed up chemical reactions. And hormones like insulin, which regulates blood sugar.
So a protein's shape dictates its job. That's wild. How do scientists even figure out these complex protein structures?
Well, that's where things get really high tech. We're talking extracrystallography, cryo-electron microscopy, all sorts of cutting-edge technology. It's incredible how they can visualize these tiny structures and see how they interact with other molecules.
Wow. Okay, so we've got proteins building us up, enzymes speeding things along, and hormones sending messages. What about vitamins? I know they're important, but keeping track of them all can be confusing.
Yeah, definitely. Vitamins are these essential micronutrients, right? Things our bodies can't produce enough of on their own. We need them for growth, metabolism, overall health. You can think of them like specialized tools.
So our bodies are like this complex machine, and vitamins are the wrenches and screwdrivers keeping everything running smoothly.
You got it. And just like you wouldn't use a hammer for every job, each vitamin has its own specific role. Like vitamin C, for instance. It's an antioxidant, so it protects our cells from damage. And it's crucial for making collagen. That's why a deficiency can lead to scurvy. That's a disease where your gums bleed. It was a big problem for sailors back in the day.
Yeah, I've heard about scurvy. So a lack of just one tiny vitamin can have a huge impact, huh? That really makes you think about the importance of a balanced diet. Speaking of which, we have this really handy table summarizing essential vitamins, their sources, the diseases you can get if you don't have enough, and their key functions. great resource, especially if you're studying for those exams.
It is. And keep in mind, folks, this isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about understanding how these vitamins impact your everyday health. Like, take vitamin A, super important for vision, especially in low light. If you don't get enough, you could end up with night blindness.
Okay, vitamin A for good eyesight. Got it. What about vitamin B1?
Vitamin B1, also known as thiamine, that's key for converting food into energy. It's also important for your nerves. A deficiency can lead to beriberi, which affects the heart, nervous system, and even muscles.
Interesting. And vitamin B2?
Vitamin B2, also called riboflavin, is essential for growth, making energy, and healthy red blood cells. Without enough, you can have problems with your skin, eyes, and mouth.
Okay, what about B3?
B3, or niacin, that's important for energy metabolism and how your cells communicate. Deficiency can lead to pellagra, which can cause dementia, diarrhea, and dermatitis. Pretty serious stuff.
Wow, okay. How about vitamin B5?
E5, that's pantothenic acid, is crucial for making hormones and breaking down fats. You don't see deficiency too often, but it can lead to fatigue, numbness, and tingling in your hands and feet.
What about vitamin B6?
Vitamin B6, or pyridoxine, is involved in, get this, over 100 enzyme reactions in your body. It's important for brain development and your immune system. Not enough, and you can end up with anemia and nerve damage.
Okay, now for vitamin B7.
Vitamin B7, also known as biotin, is essential for healthy hair, skin, and nails. Also, it's crucial during pregnancy for the baby's development. Deficiency can cause hair loss and skin rashes.
Interesting. On to vitamin B9.
Vitamin B9, also called folate or folic acid, is crucial for cell growth and division. Super important during pregnancy to prevent birth defects. If you don't have enough, you could develop anemia or even have problems with the baby's neural tube development.
What about vitamin B12?
Vitamin B12, or cobalamin, is all about nerve function and making red blood cells. A deficiency could lead to anemia and some neurological problems.
All right, now for the famous vitamin C.
Vitamin C, also called ascorbic acid, is a powerful antioxidant protecting those cells from damage. And like we said before, it's crucial for making collagen, so it's important for wound healing too, and it helps you absorb iron. And yeah, if you don't get enough, that's when scurvy can set in.
Right. Now for vitamin D.
Vitamin D, sometimes called the sunshine vitamin because your body makes it when your skin is exposed to sunlight, is vital for absorbing calcium. That means strong bones. It also plays a role in immune function and cell growth. Not enough. You could end up with rickets as a kid or osteomalacia as an adult.
Interesting. What about vitamin E?
Vitamin E, or tocopherol, that's another powerful antioxidant, so it's great for protecting your cells. Also important for your immune system and how cells communicate. A deficiency can lead to nerve damage and muscle weakness.
Okay, last but not least, vitamin K.
Vitamin K is what helps your blood clot. Also important for bone health. Not enough. Could lead to excessive bleeding.
Wow, what an incredible rundown. It's amazing how each of these tiny vitamins has such a specific and vital role in keeping us healthy. Makes you appreciate the complexity of the human body, doesn't it?
It really does. And it just shows how important a balanced and diverse diet is to make sure we're getting all of these nutrients.
Now, before we jump into the world of fats and cholesterol, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into biomolecules, nutrition, and malnutrition. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about just how vital vitamins are and how they impact our health in so many ways.
Yeah, right. It's like each vitamin is a little specialist working behind the scenes to keep our bodies running.
Yeah.
But, the world of nutrition can be so confusing, especially when it comes to fats and cholesterol. I mean, there's so much conflicting information out there.
It's hard to know what to believe. Totally. It's like a nutritional minefield sometimes. But let's try to break it down. Cholesterol, for example, often gets a bad rap. But it's actually essential for our bodies. It helps make up cell membranes, it helps produce hormones like estrogen and testosterone, even helps with vitamin D synthesis.
So it's not the villain it's made out to be.
Not at all. The key is understanding that there are different types of cholesterol. You've got high-density lipoprotein, HDL, that's the good cholesterol, and it acts like a scavenger. It picks up excess cholesterol in your bloodstream and takes it to the liver to be processed. Then there's low-density lipoprotein, LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol. High levels of that can lead to plaque buildup in your arteries, which increases the risk of heart disease.
So, like most things in life, it's all about balance, right? We need some cholesterol, but too much of the bad kind can be a problem. And it's the same with fats, isn't it? We need some fats for energy and other things, but some are definitely healthier than others.
Exactly. Fats are a great source of energy. They help us absorb vitamins and are crucial for things like cell function and insulation. But you're right, not all fats are created equal. Saturated fats, which you mainly find in animal products and some tropical oils, can raise LDL cholesterol levels, putting you at higher risk for heart disease. Then you've got unsaturated fats, and those are the healthier ones. They can actually lower LDL cholesterol and raise HDL cholesterol.
So things like olive oil, avocados, nuts, those are all good fats, right? And what about those omega-3s we hear so much about?
Exactly. Olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fatty fish like salmon, those are all great sources of unsaturated fats, including those heart-healthy omega-3s. Omega-3s are a type of polyunsaturated fat, and they play a big role in brain function, reducing inflammation and keeping your heart healthy.
It feels like we're bombarded with information about what's healthy and what's not constantly. It's overwhelming sometimes. But I guess the takeaway is that a balanced diet is key, right? Lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats. Which brings us to the issue of malnutrition. And it's not just about not having enough food, is it?
No, not at all. Malnutrition is a whole spectrum of issues, from undernutrition, where people aren't getting enough of the essential nutrients they need, to overnutrition, where people are consuming too many calories and unhealthy foods, which can lead to obesity and other health problems.
It's a global crisis with serious consequences. We touched on the situation in India a bit earlier, and it's obviously a very complex issue with many contributing factors. But what are some of the things being done to tackle this problem?
Well, India has put several programs in place aimed at combating malnutrition. One of the biggest is Poshan Abhiyan, also called the National Nutrition Mission, launched in 2018. It's a huge multi-sectoral initiative focused on improving nutritional outcomes for children, pregnant women, and new mothers.
Sounds pretty comprehensive. What are some of the key features of that program?
Poshan Abhiyan takes a pretty broad approach, addressing things like inadequate sanitation, poor maternal health, and access to quality food. It focuses on getting local communities involved and empowering them to take ownership of nutrition initiatives. And it also works to strengthen the delivery of essential nutrition services and improve the quality of the supplementary nutrition provided at Anganwadi centers. Those are rural child care centers.
So it's not just about giving people food, it's about empowering communities and improving the whole infrastructure for delivering those nutrition services too.
Yeah, exactly. Pushan Abhiyan also recognizes the importance of education, so raising awareness about good nutrition and promoting breastfeeding are key parts of it as well. It's a multifaceted approach, tackling malnutrition from a bunch of different angles.
That makes a lot of sense. And are there initiatives specifically focused on kids in school?
Yes, India's had a school feeding program for a while called the Midday Meal Scheme. It provides cooked meals to children in government schools and government-aided schools. It actually launched back in 1995, and it's done a lot to increase enrollment and attendance, especially for children from disadvantaged backgrounds.
It's amazing how much of a difference just one meal can make for a child.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of nutrition, but also for their education and social inclusion.
Right. It's huge. And the program doesn't just focus on any meal, it emphasizes nutritional content, making sure those kids are getting a balanced diet with enough calories, protein, carbs, vitamins, and minerals.
So it's about quality and quantity.
Yeah.
What about initiatives that focus on making sure the most vulnerable populations have access to food?
Well, in 2013, the National Food Security Act, or NFSA, was put into action. It's a pretty landmark piece of legislation that provides legal entitlements to subsidize food grains to something like two-thirds of India's population. It covers 75% of rural households and 50% of urban households, specifically targeting those who need it most.
Wow, that's incredibly impactful. Having access to affordable food is so fundamental to human well-being. How does that work in practice?
The NFSA identifies priority households based on certain criteria, like living below the poverty line, pregnant women, new moms, and kids under 6. Those households get up to 5 kilograms of food grains per person each month at subsidized rates. That way, even the most vulnerable people can access essential food grains at a price they can afford.
It's a really remarkable initiative that demonstrates the importance of government involvement in making sure all citizens have food security. What about programs aimed at early childhood development specifically?
The Integrated Child Development Services Scheme, or ICDS, is one of the largest early childhood development programs worldwide. It was launched in 1975, and it offers a whole package of services including supplementary nutrition, preschool education, immunization, growth monitoring, health checkups, and referral services.
That's taking a really holistic approach. It's not just about tackling malnutrition. It's about supporting the overall well-being of those young kids and their mothers too, right?
Absolutely. The ICDS recognizes that those early years are crucial for development. By addressing nutritional needs, offering early education, and ensuring access to healthcare, it aims to give children the best possible start in life. It also plays a big part in reducing infant and maternal mortality rates.
These initiatives are truly inspiring. India is clearly making some serious progress addressing the complicated problem of malnutrition. But it's not just a government effort, right? Non-governmental organizations play a role too, don't they?
Absolutely. NGOs are vital to the success of this. They're often working at the grassroots level, reaching those remote and marginalized communities that government programs might not reach as effectively. They provide nutrition education, promote breastfeeding, support community-based nutrition programs, and even advocate for policies that address the underlying causes of malnutrition.
So it's a team effort, with NGOs often bridging the gap between the government and the people in these communities.
Exactly, and it's really making a difference.
That's fantastic to hear. What about emerging trends and innovations in the nutrition field? What's on the horizon that you're most excited about?
One area that's really captivating is personalized nutrition. This is taking into account someone's unique genes, lifestyle, and health goals to personalize their dietary recommendations. It's moving away from that one-size-fits-all model and recognizing that what works for one person may not work for another.
So, kind of like a custom-designed diet plan. That's really neat. How does it work, though? Are we talking about fancy blood tests and algorithms and things like that?
It definitely uses some pretty sophisticated technology, yeah. Genetic testing can show if someone might be predisposed to certain nutrient deficiencies or sensitivities, which lets you make more targeted interventions. Like, imagine if you knew you were genetically prone to iron deficiency, you could be more proactive about including iron-rich foods in your diet, or talk to your doctor about personalized supplements.
It's like taking all the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
And can all those wearable devices people use play a role in this?
They absolutely can. Wearable devices and mobile apps can track what you eat, how active you are, how well you're sleeping, even your stress levels. Combine that data with artificial intelligence, and you can get some amazing insights and personalized recommendations in real time.
It's like having a virtual nutritionist right there on your wrist.
Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, but let's switch gears a bit and talk about food production itself. We've got a growing global population, increasing concerns about climate change, and our current food systems aren't exactly known for being sustainable. Are there innovations that can help us address these challenges?
One area that has huge potential is biofortification, which is basically breeding crops to contain more of the nutrients people need. For instance, we already have types of rice and wheat that are biofortified with iron and zinc, which are really important for fighting micronutrient deficiencies in a lot of parts of the world.
Wow, so you're talking about making food more nutritious from the very beginning. That's an amazing solution, especially in those areas that depend heavily on staple crops like rice and wheat. Any other food technology innovations you're excited about?
One word: cellular agriculture. Imagine a world where you can produce meat and dairy products directly from cells without needing traditional animal farming. It sounds futuristic, but it's becoming a reality.
So we were talking about some pretty amazing innovations in food technology before the break, especially with this idea of cellular agriculture, growing meat in a lab. It's wild.
It is, isn't it? It's basically cultivating animal cells in this really controlled environment. That way you can produce meat that's the same as what you'd get from, traditional farming, but with way less impact on the environment.
And you said it addresses concerns about animal welfare, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And land use, greenhouse gas emissions, even things like the risk of diseases spreading from animals to people.
So it's a win-win for human health and the planet. But, I mean, is this actually going to work in the real world? Will we be seeing these lab-grown burgers at the supermarket anytime soon?
It's still early, but the technology is moving really fast. There are companies all over the world that are already producing this kind of meat, and they're starting to get regulatory approval. So, yeah, I think we'll probably be seeing these products on the shelves in the next few years.
Wow, that's really exciting. It feels like we're on the verge of a food revolution with innovations that could totally change not just what we eat, but how we produce it. Pretty hopeful, isn't it? Thinking about a future where everyone has access to nutritious, sustainable, and ethically produced food.
I think so too. These kinds of innovations give us a real reason to be hopeful, especially in a world that's facing such big challenges like malnutrition, climate change, and food insecurity. It's an exciting time to be working in nutrition and food technology.
Well, this deep dive into the world of biomolecules, nutrition, and the future of food has been incredible. I've learned so much and feel so inspired by all of the possibilities we've talked about.
It's been great talking with you about all this. And remember, everyone, a deeper understanding of nutrition gives us the power to make good choices for ourselves, push for a healthier food system, and create a more sustainable future for everyone.
That's a great point. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And to all of our listeners, thanks for joining us for this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you found it informative and engaging. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and nourish yourselves well.